Oh, wait. It says here you ate 2 beating rattlesnake hearts.
Yes, I have.
The first question is why eat one, and then why did you do another?
Great questions all. Great questions all.
You attended a prison rodeo.
Yes. Yeah. So Oklahoma's got a bunch of weird, cool things to it. So like anybody who visits Oklahoma, where I'm from, there tends to be this very dismissive attitude driving through the state. Because if you go along I-40, there's not a lot to see. It's just a lot of plains, right? The deal is you have to have a car and you have to know cool people because there's weird stuff in the state. There's a Bigfoot hunt. Sadly, the McAllister Prison Rodeo has shut down. That finally shut down. And I say sadly because that was a cultural institution in southeast Oklahoma. The McAllister Prison Rodeo was, they would always say the oldest prison rodeo in the country, which implies that there's multiple prison rodeos, which I don't think is the case.
So is this a voluntary rodeo or they're like, you're a prisoner, get on the bull?
I have to be careful here. It is, the prisoners are not voluntarily prisoners. However, the prisoners have voluntarily entered the rodeo.
Okay.
So they don't go get the prisoners with their striped shirts and the balls, the ball and chains, then like prod them in with cattle prods or anything. They rather they find prisoners that are on good behavior, and they say if you continue to be on good behavior, we will allow you to do the rodeo because it's apparently, I've never been to prison, but someday probably, and I'm told that it's very boring, and so they will go do and so they brought in a regular rodeo team, and then they bring in the prisoners and they do it. The only bit that I think was a little questionable is the big event at the end. It's called Money the Hard Way, and they'd tie a string around the horns of a bull. And I don't know if you've ever been to a rodeo. Bulls are not happy. They actually put a little, I don't know what you call it. It's a scrotum tightener that they put on them to irritate them. So they're not just natively angry. They're actually constricting their testes to make them mad.
Yeah,
and so they've got this string along the horns, and they would tape a $100 bill on that string and go get it, and then that was it. It was just a free for all. And like you could try this bull who's actively trying to kill every human being on the planet until they release him from this testes tightener. They run in and try and not get gored. And if they got it, they got it. And that's a lot of cigarettes.
Yeah, that's huge. When I heard prison rodeo, I envisioned like you get the guy from, is that movie 8 Seconds? Like the guy that rides the bull. Is that the rodeo movie?
I don't know.
I just get that mixed up with I think 8 Mile, which is Eminem. But anyway, so imagine like a rodeo guy. He walks out there and like the guy, like this giant guy in a black and white striped suit, and he looks like Gary Busey, just escaped from the prison or whatever.
Okay, yes,
he has to
I'm
sit
back on board. Yep,
bucking on Gary Busey.
This I gotta say, this sounds like a Gary Busey event. Like if Gary Busey were made like czar of games in Oklahoma, and it's like, what are we gonna do? It'd be like something involving like chickens and bingo, and then alternately like we're gonna have rodeos involving felons.
Ferrets and motor oil.
The other event that is still going on in Oklahoma is the rattlesnake derby, and that happens town by town in western Oklahoma.
I think I was going to question here. Yeah,
shall I let you? I teed that up for you.
The last one we can mix them. We'll bounce around. It's not alphabetical order.
The weird thing, I because they gave me the script before we sat down, and I was supposed to memorize all this, and I've really done a poor job. So I'm sorry. I should have.
We didn't give Kyle any lines. It's weird.
Tell us about the snake thing.
Oh, wait. It says here you ate 2 beating rattlesnake hearts.
Yes, I have.
The first question is why eat one, and then why did you do another?
Great questions all. Great questions all. The snake thing and the beating rattlesnake hearts. So in western Oklahoma, as with much of the plain states, the smaller towns are shrinking as people are moving to the cities. As that happens, kind of the old grain silos fill up with rats that then fill up with snakes. So snakes are having a really good time right now, and there's more rattlesnakes now than there was 50 years ago. So what a lot of these towns do and a lot of these counties do is they'll have like Whomping Day from The Simpsons.
Whomping?
Yeah. Do you guys know that reference, Whomping Day?
I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons growing up.
Really?
But I did just recently watch all of the first 11 seasons.
Like it's new to him?
Okay, great. So this is, you've got like childlike wonder.
Wonder.
You're experiencing season 10 for the very first time.
Season 11 is where I am, and I've been told My friend over here told me to just stop.
Now's when you switch to Futurama. Your friend is correct.
Thank you, friend.
Okay, so then I'll scuttle that reference for everybody that doesn't know The Simpsons. But basically, everybody goes out and hunts these snakes. So people will go out with like pillowcases and I don't know which, like snake picker-upper poles. There might be a name for them, and they put them in there, and then they all show up in the town and go. Pardon me. They go. All right, here's the snakes. And so Mangum, where I've been, which is in the real far out in the southwest corner, they've got a big old pit that they dump all these snakes in, and when you show up, you measure how big the snake is.
They throw Indiana Jones in there.
No, they put in the snake handlers. Okay. So there is the Free Church of the Screaming Jesus that's in the middle of there that's doing the snake handling, and they always get bit because one of them has insufficient faith, and so that's going on.
They throw them in.
And they measure how, like, whoever has the longest snake. I think the year I was there was like 9 feet. It's crazy. And I went the first time I went there. And this is pretty rural. Maybe Mangum. Shout out to your Mangum listenership. Maybe it has become a cosmopolitan bright spot in the plains. But when I went there, speaking as I currently do, a kid ran up to me and went, "Are you from France?" and I think as I was wearing a blazer, and so I must have been a European. And then my buddy and I we went. We saw a bus, like a tour bus, going out into the Badlands. So we went, and these two, like, 70-year-old Rotarians gave us a tour of catching rattlesnakes. And apparently their vision is based on heat. So if you're out, like, in the desert, they can't really see you. And one of them comes up and goes, "Andy, do you know how far a snake can strike from head to tail, or from tail to end, or whatever? What the striking distance is?" And I was like, "I don't know, probably 4 feet." And he rolled his sleeve back and showed me these snake pock marks and goes, "My experience about this much further than you thought." and anyway, so we went back to the town proper, and they had a butcher shop set up, and there was this hulking black guy with an apron covered in snake guts, and he had rattlesnake earrings and like a rattlesnake bolo tie, just lots of rattlesnake accessories.
Just decked out.
And he went, "My man, did you know in Thailand that snake gallbladders are a delicacy?" And he talked my friend Evan into eating a gallbladder, and I was like, "I don't want to eat a bladder." And he's like, "Well, I do have this beating rattlesnake heart. It's been beating for an hour and a half." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds like pretty high quality heart if it's been beating for an hour and a half." So I had that, and nothing happened. I assumed that I probably have salmonella or some kind of superpower. When I went back a few years later, I was like, "Well, when you're here, you might as well eat a rattlesnake heart." So I had another one.
Did you up your striking distance a little bit? Maybe just a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think as a result of that, I could probably throw a Frisbee slightly further.
Or you probably don't jump out and bite people very often. Also, if you did.
More rattlesnake terms I learned. Apparently, a rattlesnake sperm can, like, once deposited in a female rattlesnake, can hang out for 6 months before impregnating them. So I like to think that I now have a similar ability for when I'm married or living in sin. So just really, can't do the Catholic thing. Have to be much more careful.
I want to know more about this rattlesnake pit. Are they so the snake handlers, do they legitimately go out there, or was that a joke?
No, they had them. Yeah,
they have like a blob set up and launch each other into it.
So they have a pit and a pavilion over the pit because it's quite hot, and then they just everybody.
Are they all dead? Rattlesnakes are alive. Yeah,
they're alive. They're alive. So they measure the snakes. A lot of them are. There's an excess of snakes. There's more snakes than they know what to do with.
Would you say there's a plethora?
I would say there's a plethora of snakes. Yes,
a literal cornucopia.
Yeah, there's too many.
To be really clear, I don't know the exact protocol. It might be that all of the snakes are measured. It might be that if they're clearly below 5 feet, they need not go through the rigors of snake measurement. It might be that half of them go to the snake handlers in the pit. It might be that they half go to the butcher shop. It might be that they're all funneled through the pit. I don't know, but there's a lot of, I would say at least 50 snakes are in the snake pit. And there's not a constant amount of snake handlers, but that is a ongoing activity within that pit, is that preachers will get down and handle the snakes and all that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So anyway, that was Oklahoma Tourism Board, I think, has really got the shoe on the wrong foot by promoting, like, "Oh, we have basketball now." And I'm like, I think you really need to go for the weirdo bit, like really lean into that.
Oh, hello there. You must have just watched one of our videos. Thank you for doing that. I'm Ethan, and this is the Babylon Bee, obviously. And click like. Just want to remind you, subscribe, hit the little bell, whatever that thing does. Comment. We read them all. Check out more of our videos because we make them for people like you.